Holus, welcome. Josh here, and this is called Thought Process Thursdays, and this is like possibly a new series. We'll see what happens here. I've got it described as let's openly explore some thought processes in order to unwind in the evening and aid healing, like perhaps the importance of inner healing and reconciliation. And if there's rebirth, why so much mass amnesia? So I just realized my description there, I did a little bit too much or healing and but inner healing, right? I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned right now, this is kind of the biggest challenge mankind faces. Womankind, womanity, womanity. There's so much trauma, you know. I think, and I've said this before, if we have a human incarnation, we've experienced trauma. I mean, even birth, for the most part, for most people, is traumatic. A lot of people don't remember the birth process. I don't, you know. So why all this mass forgetting as well? So I'm not trauma informed, and none of this, of course, is medical advice, but I would love to explore this with you guys about everything you know about healing, everything you feel about healing, things you want to explore, what challenges there are, even on the kind of personal, mundane, everyday level, transcendent levels. You know, if you're practitioners, what kind of challenges you've come up against. I've done very few courses, but I have done some about more trauma and how it's dealt with in, I guess, the everyday world and mainstream, but I'm not really up on it. One thing I did learn about that is inner resourcing. Of course, this app, Insight Timer, is great for that. There's just a vast amount of resources, obviously. So how else can we inner resource? You know, what does it? I mean, for me, of course, it's obviously meditation. Therapy is a huge one for a lot of people. I did a little stint in therapy, probably for the wrong reasons, but at the end of the day, it was a very enlightening, so to speak, process. But it just boggles my mind how much trauma is out there in the world. Everything from very minor things all the way to very severe forms I hear about, which I don't have any experience really with, is like SRA, and I won't say that, what that actually is, trauma-based mind control, these things some people talk about, and some of these very intense, severe forms of trauma. And of course, all I can do is refer you to some practitioners. I've heard about that. If you all have experienced any of that, or have clients that could benefit from that, because this is something that's, with a therapist, I feel you really have to really trust them with something that's severe. But as far as things that aren't as severe that I can really speak to, it's I think a lot of it, now I don't know, just reflect on this a little bit. Early on in my practice, it involved a lot of weeping, lots of tears, opening the heart, kind of seeing that it was even there, being out of denial and being willing to look at it, and, or maybe if that's not even helpful, be willing to do something about it, the willingness. Now, there's all kinds of, I'm not really promoting anything other than resources and things like that, but I can't really do that here, so I can't really promote those, which is okay. Another thing that is really helpful around this is friendship. Spiritual friendship is just absolute key. So when we really have a friend we can confide in, that will be there for us, keep keep our secrets even, you know, um, without deceiving other people to do so. That's another key thing, because a lot of times deception, will come from a place of retribution, getting back at people. But for the most part, what I see with deception is that it's it comes from a place in the heart where it's trying to protect the heart. So the deception, or even just lying, will come from a place of if I put out there what really happens, then I'm going to be vulnerable, or I'll get hurt. Other times though, it's just not time to do that. It's not the right place. It needs to be the right time and place. So Gail says, hi, first time I was diagnosed with cancer 7 months ago. I lost friends and can't stop crying either. Well, Gail, I feel for you. I've heard a lot of people say that there's a huge emotional aspect of a lot of different types of cancer. I've known a buddy of mine's mom. Of course, we've all, I would say, pretty much of us at this point has been touched by cancers, either directly or those we know. And this cancer journey is, some people come out of it completely a new person. This healing journey, and I love this term. It comes from another teacher. Our healing journey, and so many of us are on a healing journey, and a lot of people are on a healing journey and they don't even know they're on it, right? They don't even know they're on a healing journey. But I think that terminology is really helpful, and I don't think there's really any shame or stigma, and really a lot of times no one to blame. I think it's not really helpful to blame. A lot of people that inflict harm and abuse, and never makes harm and abuse right. Abuse is never okay. It shows us, and then especially what people say, it shows what's been done to them a lot of times. What people say to us is a lot of times what's been done to them. And the other thing I've been really seeing a lot of lately, and well, it's been in the past years too, is this what I used to call victimizer programming. It's even more simple to say bully, victim, hero programming. So how many of the movies and TV shows that we see deal with this thing? There's a bully, to varying degrees of intensity and maliciousness, and then there's a victim. And to the point now where a lot of times in our society, victimhood has been upheld as an ideal, kind of backwards enough, And I get it. It's playing on people, who have been really mistreated throughout time, The challenge with this though is staying in victimhood. It's not that empowering, right? So instead of me saying how it is or what should be done differently, I just ask some questions. How can I be empowered? What weaknesses is this helping me strengthen? And I noticed at victim roles that I've had that it's just a perpetuating cycle. Sometimes I would turn back into the bully, and then back into the victim, and it goes on and on and on, and looking for a hero to save me from it, or me myself being a hero trying to help people out when they don't really ask for it either. But as far as the victim thing, somebody has to stop it, right? It has to stop at some point instead of perpetuating the cycles. So I found that it might be temporarily more unpleasant when trying to break out of these cycles. But once we do, it's really helpful. And disengaging and pulling back and being able to see it from a different perspective too, I find is really helpful. Jamie says, hello, everybody. Hello, Jamie. And Gail says, that's what I feel like. The treatments are working, but I feel like I'm dying inside. I have to start my whole life over. Yeah. I hear these things with certain types of cancer treatment too, You've got the allopathic and the naturopathic, and what do they say? The allopathic, sometimes you die from the disease, and the naturopathic, you die from the cure. So it's to me, it's about balancing these in a lot of different aspects of life. But as far as starting life over, that's right. In my own experience, if I may share, yeah, I hit rock bottom, and it was. And I lost pretty much all my friends. What I found out, though, is that I created new and better friends. So, I spent so much time alone going through a transition phase, but when I finally came out of it, then found really heartfelt friends, and really friends that were healthy for me, friends that I can contribute to. And the other ones we just kind of outgrow sometimes. I think that's one way to do it. Or we wake up and see things differently, and started treating myself with more kindness and compassion too, and then attracting other friends. Gail says, please share. Oh yeah, how did you find them? The friends, it's so wild to just start kind of trusting the universe. I know that sounds kind of like new age cliche, but they really just kind of synchronous. It happened by synchronicity, just to start finding things. We'll see something online, reach out. I went to an event, like a friend's house that we're at now, my fiance and I, house sitting. I just met him at a crystal fair, and then his wife later on, and we just got starting to talking about mutual things. I know for guys, it's we usually bond over things we're interested in, and for females, the relationships seem to be, on a whole, I know it's cliche, stereotype a little bit, but relationships do seem to be a lot more important for the feminine than the masculine, I would say, on a whole, if that's fair to say. So I know guys, we tend to connect and bond over things we both have a mutual interest in, and a lot of it has to do with work and things like this. But the feminine, there could be quite a bit of challenges for all kinds of different relationships. So, if there's any women out here that have the feminine that found ways to connect to new friends, please chime in. And of course, it's not just same-sex friends or whatever either, But I will say, honestly, when I got engaged, then some of my other feminine friends, I don't really stay in contact with them as much anymore. It just kind of faded away. It's really no hard feelings or anything. It's a different dynamic. Jamie says, I lost a few friends when my health gets worse. This is a really profound thing too. And in the traditional Theravada teachings, there's these 5 daily reflections, right? And until we've gone beyond these, it's really helpful I found to reflect on these whenever we can, or at least, frequently. And that is old age, sickness, death. I'll just shorten it down to loss and self-responsibility. We're all still subject to sickness. We haven't gone, at least maybe there has been some very profound yogis here that have gone beyond sickness, but for most of us, we will get sick, and that's a whole other thing. I'll just mention the practice with that. I mean, I'm not talking about really grave, serious illnesses, but really when sick with flu or whatever, it's a fascinating time to practice with, to see how the mind spins out and can start trying to blame, but mainly just, I want this to go away. I want this to stop. How can it be different? I found that when I started to surrendering to it, because, hey, I'm already sick, I'm in the middle of it. What would happen if I just surrendered to it and went into it? Because I'm already feeling bad. I'm really feeling horrible. What would happen if I just went into it and felt it down to my core? How can I feel this, It doesn't help so much, but it will pass. Nothing lasts forever, so it will happen. And then what is my relationship to this? It's kind of like I'm in a state, moment by moment, of no escape, but I know it will eventually change and something different will happen from the illness. But moment by moment, what is my relationship to this? The state that I'm in, the state of illness, It's a really fascinating time of practice. So Jamie says, But it shows when you meet new people what is the most important. That's right. So that's a very good point. Our values, right? So when we identify a few core values, like what is the most important things in my life, and then align with those core values. For instance, mine are on one hand, the heart qualities, friendliness, compassion, equanimity and rejoicing, and then on the right hand or on the other hand or whatever side is wisdom. These are discerning qualities, and then there's also courage and freedom. And so when I align with those, then I can have more fulfillment with every aspect of my life. It doesn't matter if I meet my goals as much, but when I'm in alignment with my core values, then there can be more contentment, more direction, and then an attraction and a litmus test and a gauge for who we want to associate with and we align with. Do these people make my heart leap up and sing because their values, they see and recognize my values, and we can really connect on a heart and mind level, spirit level, soul level, whatever we say, Buddha nature level, because we really care deeply about the same things, and we can have fun too, and do things on surface level. I think it's because people get scared and sickness makes them deal with fear. Another huge topic. When we talk about healing, fear has a huge thing to do with it. That's for another discussion, right? Q&A coming up down the road. We plan to deal with courage and fear. So, Gail, I thought of that too. And Jamie says, but you can find other people who have gone through a deeper life journey, so they are not afraid of real life as it is. That's true and a good point, Jamie. Yes, and you're like with your cancer, you don't have any choice, right? You're now facing it. You don't have any other choice but to face very deep and profound things in life. That's just speaking of illness. There's a helicopter from the hospital going over right now. Pretty sure that's what it is. It's a common air path here, but yeah. So you're in the thick of it, Gail. So as far as I know, there's cancer support groups. There's so many people who have gone through a cancer journey and have have a really deep wisdom to share from it, resources to share, support groups and things. So guys, we're over 15 minutes now, so I'm going to wish you all the best. And we didn't even get to the mass amnesia, which, I mean, that could take lifetimes to do that, but it just blows my mind if there are, multiple lives, how we can forget so much, even in our own life. What did you guys have for, lunch or dinner even, 3 years ago, 5 months, 1 week, 2 days? Who? Of course, some savants remember this stuff, but there's just so much we forget, and it's almost a blessing sometimes that we do forget certain things because, well, that's a whole nother thing, not being able to forget when it comes to trauma. But we'll have to save that for another time. So may all you out there find the most amazing healing and modalities, and on the inside, and perhaps once we're at a point of healing, then we could possibly think about considering reaching out to do some reconciliation with those in our lives, with community, and maybe even the all beings everywhere at some point. So may you all be well, and you're all quite welcome. Bye now.